What's up, everyone? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you are listening to Liquid Carnage. It is, my friend, the start of the most wonderful time of year, and I'm not talking about Christmas.
Oh, you're not talking about Christmas. What are you talking about, Scott?
It is officially football season. This show drops, Jason, opening night, the NFL, the Detroit Lions at Kansas City Chiefs. There is football on from every Saturday and Sunday from now until Valentine's Day.
I did not know that the first game was the Chiefs versus the Lions.
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess
Yes.
I'd better check to see if I have any Chiefs or Lions on my team.
You should, because as you know, whoever wins the Super Bowl opens up the season on Thursday night prime time, and they like to give them a sweet, sweet matchup. And if you've been living under a rock and you're a football fan, the Detroit Lions are this year's sleeper pick to be the media darlings.
Oh, well, you know what? The division got tremendously simpler, didn't it?
Yeah.
With the departure of the great Aaron Rodgers.
Well, it's funny. I don't know if you pay much attention to the Lions, but they have a coach, Dan Campbell.
Okay.
And when he was hired, when they hired him, he was panned. Like, the guy gave a bizarre opening press conference speech about how, if they get knocked down, they'll pull themselves up, but they'll take a bite out of their opponent's leg as they're pulling themselves up. It was a very bizarre speech.
Okay.
But, as his first season went on, you kind of saw them take on his mentality of, you just keep fighting, you just keep swinging. And they improved. And last season, they started off rough. It looked like, all right, this guy's done after 2 seasons. And then I think they won like the last 4, 5, 6 games and almost ended up like back into the playoffs by beating the Packers.
Oh, okay.
So now they're picked to be like one of the better offensive teams in the league and supposed to be this year's big surprise to be the next big thing.
Well, let's hope so, because they have my boy Jared Goff, who took us to a championship but never won the championship. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll get lucky.
Yeah. But, that's the beauty of sports in the new season, because hope springs eternal. It does not matter how good or how bad your team is in the preseason, because everybody starts 0-0, and the fun goes from there. Now, I can safely say my team, the Cardinals, I am a diehard fan. I'm also very realistic, are going to be terrible this year.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It'll be
boy.
a rough year.
Oh, boy.
So, I'm hoping for the draft pick, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right.
So I'm rooting for them to, I don't want to say lose. I want them to be competitive by the end of the season.
Okay.
I would like Houston just to be terrible because we have their first round draft pick next year. And I would like to have the first 2 picks in the draft so we can really set ourselves up for success.
All right. Well, there you go. There you go, my friend. Sounds good,
I'm looking
man.
positive. Long-term positive. Short-term, you might think it's negative, but it's just being realistic.
Okay. Well, yeah, I have no incentive with my Rams. I don't think they're going to be very good this year. I don't think it's going to be anything that I get excited about. So this is about as best as I can probably get, just to get, get something to root for, because I don't think that I'm going to have anything to root for this year at all.
And I think what's nice about modern age is the rise of fantasy sports and online betting, and how it's changed how people watch the games, how people pay attention to sports. And fantasy football has just evolved so fast over the last 2 decades. I've been playing for 20 years now, a little bit longer than 20 years, and how it started on Yahoo in 2001, I think was the first year I played, versus how it is now are night and day. But it keeps me engaged. When my team is bad, it gives me other players to watch and other teams to pay attention to,
Okay. Well, there you go. All right. Well, hey, why not? Let's do it. I went up to see my mom this weekend or this last weekend over Labor Day, and we went to a college football game. We went to go see UNLV against whoever they were playing, and it was a rout. One of those teams where you get set up with a pushover.
The cupcake game.
The cupcake game, and they won 44-14. But it got me excited because one of the guys I went with, he was talking about the bets that he had made. And in Vegas, you go to the casinos, right? But in Arizona, we have the benefit of having online betting. Like you can bet online for games. So now they've added a new thing that people get excited about and get get ready for. So
Yeah, but do you think that helps? I mean, or do you think people just care about, I mean, winning the bet versus how good the team is at that point? Like they're just a fair weather fan that week because they need, that particular team to beat the Browns or Arizona in this case?
interesting. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it kind of is similar to fantasy in terms of like sometimes I'll draft a player that is on a team that I would never watch.
Yeah.
But because they're on my fantasy team, I'll watch them. I think that betting is kind of the same way. When you bet, you know, you bet for whatever reason on a team. Like for example, my friend bet the Colorado game
Yeah.
this last weekend, and he bet for Colorado. And I said, "Why'd you bet for Colorado? They're like facing like the second place team last year in the in TCU." And he said, "Well, I feel like it's Deion Sanders' first game, so he's gonna make sure that team is ready to go, and the spread is large enough that I'm gonna bet against the spread so that even if they lose, as long as they keep the game close, I'll win the bet."
Okay.
Okay. That's cool. Well, all throughout the game where we're sitting there watching the UNLV game, he was constantly tracking the game against TCU and, oh my gosh, Colorado just scored. Oh, and so he was actively being a part of the game. And yeah, it was kind of, I could see he was getting fun, he was getting fun with it.
It's just funny because I feel like online betting, sports betting, and the fantasy football, they keep us more engaged with the game than we normally would. Also, just to kind of clarify, with the invention of the direct ticket system with DirecTV, now it's on YouTube to watch all the games that are out of market. It used to be you're only subject to the games that are in your market. And if you had a bad team like we did with the Cardinals, if it wasn't sold out, you didn't see the game because there's a blackout. There used to be a blackout rule.
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
So I used to only be able to ever see a Cardinal game when it was on the road because they'd show every road game here locally, but they would never show a home game unless the Cowboys were here because they sold out the stadium. So getting rid of that made it more interesting to see, my home team. I've seen them consistently for the last 15, 16 years, but there's a lot of games they've been, more bad than good in a lot of years. So I feel like it keeps me more engaged with the sport and the evolution of players and the growth of players by playing fantasy sports. And I've had 3 drafts over the last 2 weeks, and I always look at the draft grades. I look because I just like, for me, I want to see how I stacked up against everybody else in that draft. If the computer or the AI thought that I did a solid enough job to win the league, you know.
Interesting. Well, I have to give you a little bit of a secret here. I actually, as we're recording this, I am going to be in a draft in 2 minutes. So if you hear any
Okay.
clicking or shouting or screaming, you'll know that it's because I'm in a draft.
Well, that's very interesting because now I do have questions. If you're going to live draft while we're recording, so we're going to make this part of the show.
Okay.
What is your draft position? How
I'm
many
in
teams?
seventh in a 12 team, so I'm right in the middle.
Okay, so that's a sweet spot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what strategies are better or worse. I kind of do like it when you're, toward the like 10, like on a 12 team, like if you're 9 or 10 or 11. I don't mind
Yeah.
those areas because even though you don't get the premium player, you get a boom boom, so you can get 2 pretty good players. I hate 1, 2, or 3 because you get a good player, but then you have to wait so long before you get your next player.
Yeah, I've always said the sweet spot for me is probably 4 through 7
Okay, okay.
in a 10 league team or 10 team league.
Yeah.
12 teams, I would 5 through 8, maybe 10. We drafted in a league with 12 teams the other night, and I ended up with the 10th, and you were right there at 9th, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yep.
So I can see how your philosophy works because I ended up getting the 4th best marks in that draft report card. So I can see what you're saying, but I don't like drafting there. I like drafting somewhere in the middle. I feel like I don't need superstars. I need solid players, and I can win with that.
Do you feel like, I know you're not a huge gambler. Do you use online betting for like football games and stuff?
I tried it when they first legalized it in Arizona 2 years ago or so,
Yeah.
and it was okay. I can't keep up with it. I don't care that much. that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's just not. It's not for me. I understand the parlays and how you want things to hit, but I like enjoying watching the games. I don't want to get stressed out because I'm going to lose money if, Buffalo doesn't hit with, covering the spread.
One thing that I do have to admit that I while I like the betting to watch teams you may not watch, I do find the stress level of betting on the games is a little bit more than what I would like to do
Yeah.
um, and so I get worried too because some of these people do a lot of betting, and it can get, like anything, betting can get dangerous, right? Betting
Yeah.
can get dangerous.
Well, I feel like betting has changed how people look at the game with the ease of access to online gambling. Now players are getting suspended for gambling and placing bets on other games. And if they actually place bets on their own team, it's almost a certain banishment from the league. But it was interesting because I went to the Cardinal Raider game last year with my family up in Las Vegas, and traditionally Raider fans are they have their own reputation of being a little rough,
Okay.
and Vegas Raider fans are different, where they are quote unquote diehard Raider fans until it comes down to who's covering the spread or who they bet on that week. We sat in front of some folks that they were Raider fans and they wanted to kill the Cardinals, but they needed the Cardinals to score at least a certain amount of points to cover. I think the over is what they took. And then, they took the Raiders for the win in the over, and they were going to win X amount of dollars if it happened. And that's the only reason they were cheering for them. So you see a different level of fan. Make sense?
Yeah, I think I do. I think I do.
So I don't know. To me, it's kind of a cheap way. I'm a purist at the end of the day. Like I believe if
Okay,
you're a
so they're
fan of the
saying
team,
that I get Travis Kelce if I want him.
oh,
He's the guy,
7?
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Are there any better picks? It hasn't started yet.
No, it started. We're already in it. So I got that
So
was the
he has a hyperextended knee, so
yeah.
he
I
could
don't
be
know.
out. Who's the next best player?
The next best player was Brian Robinson from the Atlanta Falcons.
You mean Bijan Robinson?
Whatever.
I would take him. Him.
It's already too late. We only get like 30 seconds. So
Oh, do you take Kelce?
yeah,
Oh, that was a mistake.
yeah. Because I don't know anything about these players. That's another thing. At least with gambling, or at least you get to know something about these players. I don't know.
Well, yeah, this keeps me up to date with the league too, but I can tell you Travis Kelce has a hyperextended knee, so he's questionable for the first couple weeks of the season.
Okay. Well,
So just something to think about. Coming back to the second, let me know when you get back. You close to your second round pick.
all right.
Be very interested to see who's available at that point in time. Now, are these all experienced players? You have some noobs on it, some newbies.
A bunch of newbies. Yeah, a bunch of newbies.
See, to me, that makes it more wild because you never know what they're going to take. You don't know if you've got someone who knows what they're doing or if they're just a fan and they're going to take their favorite player no matter what.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I mean, this is a $50 league, so this league will definitely be one where you will, you're up for $50.
Yeah. So you have to make them. You want to try to get the most out of your money. Now, have you won this league before?
I have not won this league. The best I've ever done is third place. So I have a choice between Josh Jacobs or Etienne.
ETN.
Yeah, whatever.
I would take ETN.
Okay.
I like that offense with Jacksonville.
Better than Josh Jacobs. Wow. Okay.
Doug Peterson is a West Coast offense guy. Trevor Lawrence went to school with ETN. They have that connection. Going to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield.
Okay, we'll see. But anyways, so yeah, so it was kind of fun though. My friend was like watching the games and keeping track of the betting or the teams. Now he did a 4-team parlay and he got 3 of the 4. What was the team that screwed him over? Baylor. He picked Baylor and they lost. So.
Oh, see, that's why I don't like gambling. If you pick the parlays, everybody's got a hitter. You don't win, and it's not how I want to spend my money.
So what happens to the casual fan now who just wants to watch it, like Noreen?
Yeah.
She'll go to a game if, but she's just casual fan. She's not totally into it like some of these people are. What do you do there?
I think that's up to them because if you're just a casual fan, you don't generally care. You just want to have a good time and go enjoy the people you're with and, the game day. And there's a lot of people out there that just are just that. They just want to enjoy it. They don't care about the other stats. They don't care. They are literally only caring about if the teams had fun and who won. That's it.
Why is it only sports in general that has this obsession from its fans? Like you never hear someone who says, "Oh man, I got to go see Phantom of the Opera. Oh my gosh, I've got to go see." Did you know who's in Phantom of the Opera? I guess maybe they do it. I just don't talk to those people.
That's just those people exist. They're just not our world.
Yeah,
that's a different podcast for a different day.
Yeah,
But I get what you're saying though. Like there's no fantasy drafts for Broadway plays. Like who's your lead singer and how well are they performing on a nightly basis? I'm not even sure how you'd begin to even score that.
Right.
I guess with sports, that's what makes it easier. At least you have something that you can be quantitative with to, at least track and see how well they're doing versus somebody else arbitrarily, of course.
Yeah, I guess so. I do you think we have too much obsession with these kind of things?
I think we're getting there. I think we're at the point now where, and we've talked about the internet being a blessing and a curse.
Okay, so my pick is up. I can either go with Joe Burrow or Chris Olave.
I'd take Olave.
Done.
You can wait. There's enough good quarterbacks you can wait, but you need a good number one receiver.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't know if he's a number one receiver or not, but we'll see.
Well, he will be in New Orleans with Derek Carr. See, now you can wait and draft Derek Carr later on if possible to have that quarterback wide receiver connection.
Now,
if Burrow was still there on your way back, pick him up.
Okay. This year though, it's interesting because your Janice is now going to be doing a fantasy league. How did she go through the process of talking through that and saying, yeah, I want to do that for some of our listeners who may never have done a fantasy league before?
Well, actually you were there the first time I even heard she wanted to do this. It was back in April. We were driving to that soccer game. Tillman weekend back in April.
Yeah.
And she sat in the car and said, I want to play fantasy football so I could beat Scott. Those were her exact words.
Those were her words. I will give it that. Yeah, those were.
And I believe you laughed and said, if you're playing fantasy football, I want to be in that league too.
And I am in that league.
And you were in that league. Yeah. With a bunch of random people. So that's, I think, what makes it fun. It's a chance to make new friends and make some side bets and, enjoy it. So it's a good learner league.
Well, and so, but she only is doing it to beat you, right?
I think once she sees the competitiveness of what it actually is to beat other people or whatnot, it'll go deeper than that. There's other people she'll want to beat. Like she's got coworkers in there because now it's office bragging rights.
Okay, I'm sorry. My pick has come in again. It's either Joe Burrow or Mike Sanders with Carolina.
Oh, Miles Sanders, Joe Burrow.
Or Miles Sanders. Okay, Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
There we go. I got Joe Burrow as my quarterback. There we go. But yeah, like there was a guy who was at the football game with us who had never been to a football game. He was probably in his 70s and had never been to a football game.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen?
Well, some people just never get the opportunity because they don't live in an area where there's football that's accessible on a collegiate level or professional level. I mean, growing up, before the Raiders were in Vegas, we had UNLV up there, which I never went to, ASU football down in Tempe. The Cardinals were down in Tempe, and I used to go to those. But we're still 3.5, 4 hours away from there at the time, so high school football is all we ever had.
But what got you into football? Like, what do you remember what it was?
I remember my aunt had season tickets to the Cardinals way back when at Sun Devil Stadium, and my grandparents held on to them for her because she was living in Colorado at the time, and she had them for her quote unquote business. It's tax write off. And it was December 23rd, 1989 or 90. I think it was 1990. My dad took me to go see the New York Football Giants versus the Phoenix Cardinals at the time. And going there live and seeing the game live. That's the year they played the Bills in the Super Bowl. The Giants did, and Scott Norwood pushed it wide right, and the Giants won.
Okay.
So I remember that season because that was the first time I got to go see a game live, and I had a hat and a foam finger, and I got a hot dog, and I just thought it was cool. I think it was 9. I was 9 years old, and it was. I've been hooked ever since.
Okay. That makes sense.
But it just it creates memories. I for me the sport, well, excuse me, the sport creates, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows with just feelings with friends and being in historical moments, even if it's from a sports perspective.
Huh.
I vividly remember the heartbreak of being at Noreen's house when Santonio Holmes didn't get both feet on the ground for that touchdown against the Cardinals in the Super Bowl, but they still counted it.
Okay, I'm really sorry. So I've got Jonathan Taylor or Deebo Samuel.
Deebo Samuel.
Anyways, continue.
But, the heartbreak of watching my team finally get to the Super Bowl, being seconds away from winning it, and then the refs taking it away. It was heartbroken. I believe Noreen actually took my phone away from me because she thought I was going to throw it through the TV.
Ooh, the emotions, the emotional ride.
It's the emotions.
Do you find that is there any flaw in the fact that we as a society find emotional commitment to things that have nothing to do with the betterment of our lives, to making our world a better place, to helping our fellow man?
I don't think you can totally say that about sports, because I think sports is a commonality in a linking piece to society, because it will bring people who wouldn't normally associate with each other together because they have a similar bond over a team.
And that there's benefit, you're saying there's a societal benefit from that.
Yeah, I think so. I think, society benefits from people finding common ground somewhere, because, if you look at the political climate today, you can't be a Republican talking to a Democrat or vice versa without getting into a fight, but you can bet you're going to find, both sides of the aisle that are, Yankee fans or Dodger fans for baseball, or Ram fans for football. And, that gives you something to talk about.
Okay, sorry to bother you. Raheem Mostert or Christian Kirk?
Christian Kirk.
There we go. Yeah, I find that one of the things that I've kind of had to be very cognizant about football is obviously with fantasy teams, you're always trying to watch to see who's scoring what. When you bet, you're always trying to see, okay, is my team scoring? But when you consider that pregame starts at 9 in the morning and the last game ends at 9, that's 12 hours on a Sunday that's completely gone if you're obsessed with football.
Yeah.
And you definitely give up a lot of other things that you could have done by doing that.
I think it's more of a case of you have to be more efficient with your time throughout the rest of the week, so you don't mind those days, because not every football Sunday should be those 12 hours. And for us, it's because we live in Arizona on the West Coast, where we have those earlier start times. Out here, the early games start at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, depending on the time of the year. If you're back east, that's a noon, 1 o'clock start, right?
Right.
You still have your whole morning, but then it's a 12 noon to midnight on a Sunday.
Sure.
That you're losing. So I get what you're saying, but I just feel like it's, for the obsessed person, they don't mind because they've made that sacrifice. And there's been Sundays where you've had those too, where you just end up watching football from the first kickoff until the end of the last play on Sunday night. That's just what it is. No harm, no foul.
Yeah. Anyways, I've cut mine down. Like last year, I tried to make it where I only watched one game a day. If I was going to watch a game, I get one game a day. That's it.
Yeah.
If that happened to be the morning game, afternoon game, it didn't matter, but I only got one.
Yeah, I try to just watch the Arizona games, but as they got progressively worse, I kind of started watching Cincinnati a little more and so forth. But I used it as a reason to get out of the house. For a long time, I wouldn't watch football at home if I didn't have to because it kept me social.
Yeah, and okay. So and also I don't know. I mean, when you have someone, I mean, like Noreen, she'll watch football, but she's not a big football like enthusiast. So for her, she doesn't want to waste the whole entire Sunday watching nothing but football.
Yeah, and I get that. And yeah, that's what compromise is for because there's a lot of times where I could care less what the game is. I'm not watching that game.
Right. Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
I don't care about so many teams that I have to sit there and football is football. Now, if it's a Thursday night and there's nothing else on, yeah, I'll watch the Browns versus the Jaguars when they're terrible. But that's mostly just background noise too, because I can do other things while that's on.
What do you think about the expansion of the Europe games that they play on the Europe side?
I like it. I think it's good for the game.
Okay.
I think the NFL is trying to put more teams in Europe, or they want to start putting teams in Europe, and I think this is a good avenue to see how it goes. I'd be curious to see like how if that means they have to add an eventual third time slot to the games for an American TV. Like because they start at like 6 a.m. or 8
Yeah,
a.m.
6:30 a.m. I think.
So that makes it kind of hard. Uh, but that's like 8 or 9 hours ahead of the time, so it's the middle of the afternoon for them over there. So maybe it works. I think they need at least 4 teams over to make it worthwhile, though.
Are you going to order the NFL ticket on YouTube?
Actually, I did buy that this year. Yeah, I figured I'd give it a whirl just to see.
Okay. Was it expensive?
I did it when there's still a discount back in June.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I think the whole thing cost me $250 for the season.
Oh, okay. And then how does it work on YouTube? I don't know how it works.
Well, I have YouTube TV, which that's know how you have Hulu Live.
Yeah.
YouTube TV is the same thing.
Oh, okay. And so you can watch it there. But if I bought the package, do I need YouTube TV?
No, you just need YouTube.
Okay, I have that.
So yeah, you could buy the package. It's more expensive if you don't have YouTube TV, but I mean, ultimately it's probably cheaper because you're not paying the monthly subscription for YouTube. So
sure. Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So it's interesting. I figured it's year one for this because they said you could watch 4 games on one screen at any given time. So I'm going to try that out this weekend and see how it goes. Okay. And just play with it for a year because I figured I'd spend that much at a bar between bar food and beer and like a month or two. So if I watch a couple weeks worth of football games from home instead of going out, that covers the cost.
Yeah, that's actually true. You're right if you stay home, but you like going out. Okay, I have a choice. I have Mike Brown or Marquise Brown.
Mike Brown plays for who?
No, Mike Evans versus Marquise Hollywood Brown.
I take Hollywood Brown. You don't know who's throwing the passes either way, but
okay, there we go.
Mike Evans doesn't want to stay in Tampa Bay, so he's going to be a problem this year.
Oh, okay, there we go. All right.
So as we wrap up today's show, this one probably seemed a little offbeat because we got a live draft going on. We're talking about sports, not something we normally talk about, but it's good to change it up. Do you play fantasy sports? Do you online gamble about sports? We want to hear about it. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at the Liquid Carnage. If you want to get any pro tips from our EP Tom on drafting fantasy leagues, hit him up at liquid_EP on Twitter and Instagram. For the first time ever, he got 2 A's on his draft report card. So I think this might be his year. He might be bringing it this year.
Now, just to be clear, I am the defending champion in our keeper league.
Yeah. No one ever talks about that because you never bring it up. But
no,
yeah.
I try not to bring it up, but I am the defending champion. We talk about what could have happened if you'd not had a bad break with some guy having a heart attack and almost dying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
If it hadn't been for that, you'd have been.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah. Thank God he's alive. He made the Bills, so good for him. So, replay that game and give me those points, and let's decide last year's championship this year when they play.
Yeah, but so I'm basking in the sun. I actually had my best finish. I got my money back in my big money league. I actually took third place, so I got my money back in that league. That was an unfortunate one. That I was a top scorer in that league, and right up to the very end, the only game that I did not perform was the game that would have gotten me into the championship, because I won the third place game. If I had been in the championship, I would have won the championship because I beat the other team. The only game I lost was the one that would have got me into the Super Bowl.
See, and I'm always nervous of the 1 week where everybody I have lays an egg.
Yep, and that happened.
You're always going to have a week where somebody lays an egg where you need them to show up.
That's right. That's right. Well, good luck to all our fantasy players out there.
Absolutely. That being said, Jason, take us home.
Hey, we appreciate you. Good luck with all your fantasy leagues, and good luck to your football teams. That was Scott. I am Jason, and as always,